Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is June the 29th, 2025. And yes, the title, U.S. lifting some sanctions against Russia. And you can see the thumbnail as well, sanctions being lifted against Russia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is a fact. And right on the tail of the largest scale attack against Ukraine since the war began, Russia has started an all-out assault on multiple fronts, geopolitically, militarily, and now we have confirmation. I confirmed it 10 ways that the United States has lifted some sanctions against Rosatam in Hungary, and I have it all for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, and caring. We appreciate each and every one of you. Let's jump straight to it. So yes, I've confirmed this in Ukraine. I've confirmed this in the United States, and I grabbed just a couple of headlines for you. Within the last 5 or 6 hours, Hungary says that the United States lifts sanctions on its nuclear expansion project. Hungarian foreign minister, that is Viktor Orban, says the United States lifted Russian sanctions that hindered expansion of PAC's nuclear power plant. Now, what you need to know is that is actually a project by Rosatam. They're out of Russia. And if you go and look that up, you will see that the founder and the owner of it at the root is Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. So this is a fact. It's not making news anywhere, some headlines here and there, but it is the truth. These sanctions are being lifted from the United States, Biden-era sanctions against Rosatom in Hungary on that nuclear project. All this will do is put money into Putin's pocket. So I don't want to project. I don't want to look ahead. Well, maybe Trump's wanting to make a deal and do all of this. Maybe, I don't know. But we can confirm that we have sanctions lifted against Rosatom in Hungary. And ladies and gentlemen, that's not how you deal with Russia. Dmitry Peskov responds also. He says the harsher the sanctions against us, the stronger Russia's recoil will be to them. Only logic and arguments can get Russia to the negotiating table, not threats, not sanctions. No matter how many sanctions, rabid and militaristic Europe keeps pushing at us, it will not work. And I tell you, he mentions Europe here and all the sanctions. We know the 18th package, which Orban will veto and Slovakia will veto. And we'll talk about Fico and we'll talk about Orban in just a moment. There is so much happening on this Sunday afternoon. But Peskov putting that statement out, and here's the video of it. Only logics and arguments can push Russia to the negotiating table. But it is impossible to push Russia by means of any pressure or force. And the more serious the package of sanctions, which I repeat, we consider illegal, well, the more serious, let's say, it's like the recoil from a gun in the shoulder. After that, weapons are double-edged. And so let's wait and see in what form it will be adopted. We have no doubt that it will be adopted given the general mood of Europeans, which is quite rabid. And also, it's militaristic, of course, and they will not be rusty, and they will continue to introduce new packages of restrictions. But it's obvious that we have already developed some resistance over the last 4 years. And we have already learned how to minimize the consequences of such packages. So all this will require is additional work. And at the end of the day, the sanctions are not the end of the world. We will minimize the consequences. So there you have Dmitry Peskov. So the timing of all of this is very interesting. My kids will say, Dad, that's sus. Peskov talking about bring the sanctions on, no problem. We're prepared for them. While the United States is lifting a Biden-era sanction on Hungary, and EU is working on their 18th package of sanctions. Something is fishy here for sure. Now, all of this is happening over the last 6, 12, 18 hours while Ukraine is experiencing the largest scale attack since the war began. I can tell you that the strikes were in Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, that is out to the west, and then in Cherkasy, in Mykolaiv, also in Sumy, Poltava, Dnipro area, Zaporizhzhia area, Nikopol, over in the Donetsk Oblast, 477 shaheeds, 4 Kinjals, 7 Iskanders, 41 Iskander or the KH-101s, 5 caliber cruise, and 3 S-300 surface-to-air guided missiles. You ask, well, was it terrible results? There were some loss of life, but to be honest, it was thankfully minimal due to the massive attack. Wounded, but unfortunately, a lot of critical infrastructure was actually hit, and it will affect Ukraine. And we will see how that's unfolding over the next day or so. Lavrov, on the same topic, talking about Kyiv. He said in his meeting today, the West has never succeeded and will never succeed in inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia. They are trying to use tactics against us by using the Kyiv regime as a battering ram against us. And this will never work. So this is what I'm telling you. We've got the military strikes ramped up on Ukraine. The front lines are a challenge. We have the economic war, the sanction war. Russia is putting some other cards on the table that I'm going to share with you in the next couple of minutes. And while that is happening, the United States is lifting a Biden-era sanction. That's the Trump administration lifting a Biden-era sanction on Rosatam, Vladimir Putin's company. They're working in Hungary. This is a problem. We will see what unfolds from it. Robert Fico on Zelenskyy. My meeting with Zelenskyy is pointless. Of course, this is Slovakia. He hates me because I allow myself to express my opinion about the war in Ukraine. I had this video of Fico on radio there in Slovakia. It is very important to start communicating at the level of government, but my meeting with President Zelenskyy has no sense, no meaning, because he hates me. He hates me because I dare to speak my own opinion on the war in Ukraine. I said that he robbed Slovakia of $500 million because he stopped the transit of Russian gas to Slovakia. And for me, it is important to communicate and negotiate with the Prime Minister of Ukraine, with Mr. Denis Shmyhal. And I can confirm that we will prepare another joint meeting of the cabinets of Ukraine and Slovakia in the fall. And yes, we've had 3 meetings. So there you have it. Okay, so Fico, oh, we can't talk to Zelenskyy. He hates me because I tell the truth. And I think it would be the other way around. You hate him because he tells the truth, if we want to call it right. But ladies and gentlemen, on this Sunday, June the 29th, do you see what's happening? We've had the escalation and the 12-day war between Israel and Iran, the United States going and attacking there, the nuclear sites. We're seeing the fallout from that. That's a completely different story that we're covering, but it's all connected. And now we have this massive strike on Ukraine, but there's also strikes from different people, different nations, different ways, and a release of sanctions there in Hungary. So what happens next? Viktor Orban now does his job. Remember, it was at the EU meeting that he says he's there basically to represent Russia. That is what he said. Orban continues his role. He stated Ukraine and NATO, ? That would mean war with Russia and World War III the very next day. Ooh, he's threatening, huh? Meanwhile, the EU's reckless rush to admit Ukraine would pull the front lines into the heart of Europe. This isn't diplomacy. It's insanity. You don't throw matches on a powder keg. We won't let them turn Europe into a battlefield. Ladies and gentlemen, Orban is nothing but a talking head for Vladimir Putin. Robert Fico is doing the same exact thing. They're just puppets, but they're keeping that pressure. So you have another attack against Ukraine. And here's the big one. Putin and Xi confirming that in August of 2025, that they're going to have a 4-day meeting. And this is exactly what the Trump administration and the United States does not want. They want to divide China and Russia. But through their actions in Ukraine, European Union, the war there between Israel and Iran, all they're doing, the tariffs, all they're doing is pushing China and Russia closer. Putin and Xi are growing closer by the day, and the Iranian war has expedited that relationship. Putin will be with Xi for 4 days in August, which is against the policy of the United States, currently divide Russia and China. And despite the intentions of its adversaries, close cooperation between these two great powers continues, no matter how much the Russian leader speaks of valuing relations with the United States. China was and will remain Russia's strategic partner. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is where we are. We can confirm 100% the sanction against Rosatam in Hungary is lifted. So instead of taking money out of Putin's pocket, the United States is helping today to put money into his pocket. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for caring, liking, subscribing, and helping us get the truth out. This story's not out there very much. You guys be blessed, and we'll be back at you.